Yo, wait. What's up, child of God? Welcome on today's show. And just in case you don't know, I am Y311H and I'll be your host on today's episode. Hmm. And to express my gratitude to you for clicking this video, I have a gift for your soul. This one, my friend, will nourish the soul straight from the book of wisdom, where especially First Corinthians, my friend, 13:6 going down. Hear what it says. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when perfection comes, the imperfect disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish way behind me. Now we see but a poor reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these, which one is it, my friend? It is love. Interesting there. You see? I hope your soul enjoyed that. So, good vibes, child of God. Prepare as we dive in to explore mysteries of all kinds from across the whole world through interesting videos with those informations, my friend. Our message or our aim, intention of reacting to these videos is to unite the whole world, ensure we all live in peace, are forgiving with one another, and last but not least, we embrace what the book has just told us: love, loving your neighbor the way you love yourself. So, as we dive into the videos, my friend, be full of good vibes, hit that like button, and tell us where you're watching from, child of God. You see? One more thing. Let's talk with the Maker, our supreme creator, God Almighty, before we begin the show. You see? Dear Lord Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for your beautiful child here, today's viewer. Thank you for life, Father. We come before you today in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Dear Lord, we humble ourselves so you may be glorified. May you help us to spread love and peace together with your child through these videos, Father. And as we do so, impact their lives with your goodness, Father. Help them in all aspects where they might need you, Father, and be good to them. Fill us with love and forgive this viewer all their sins. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Time to dive in.
Gen X, we've got a brand new Mandela effect, and you are not going to like this one. I want to know how you remember it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume everybody has seen The Matrix. Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, and Carrie Ann Moss's Trinity. There's one scene in particular that we all know, we all talk about. Red pill, blue pill scene. And if you think you know where I'm going with this, you're going to be wrong. Here's the scene where Morpheus is about to explain to Neo what the Matrix is, before he gives him the choice of taking the red pill or the blue pill. You can see he's holding the little pill box in his hand right there. But before we even get to this part, notice the first question that he asks Neo. This is where I need you to start commenting. The way I remember it, where he goes, "What if I told you everything you know is a lie?" Never said it. Literally not in the movie at all. He actually only jumps into a whole explanation of what the Matrix is. He never said that line. The Matrix is one of my favorite movies. My brain doesn't know what to do with this now. What do you remember he tells Neo? Or asks him, right before he gives him the choice of the red or the blue pill? This one we have to figure out.
Sperm production and sperm motility, which motility is how well the sperm moves on its way to fertilize an egg, relies on getting enough zinc in your diet, because zinc turns on different processes in your body that support the production of sperm and how well the sperm can move. Both essential for conception, and anyone trying or considering trying for kids should be prioritizing getting enough zinc in their diet every single day.
So Jesus calls us the salt of the earth, right? Now he did that because salt purifies and preserves and adds flavor. But what else does salt do? Salt makes people thirsty. And what do we want when we're thirsty? Water, aka living water. So maybe if we're doing our job as the salt of the earth, we'll create thirst in people and they'll start to desire more of the living water. Come on.
People who don't like cats are a red flag. You're a red flag. And the reason is, especially if you are like only a dog lover, like if you just don't like animals, period, you just weird. But if you only like dogs and you don't like cats, you're either a needy person or you have control issues. Because when it comes to having a cat, like, you could kind of train them, like you could get them to follow a certain routine, but cats are very independent. They gonna do what they want. They gonna come deal with you when they want. You know what I'm saying? You can't really control them the way you can control a dog. But a dog gonna kiss your ass. A dog gonna listen to whatever you tell it to do. Dogs are obedient, you know what I'm saying? And they gonna be in your face 24/7. So like I said, you either are needy or you got control problems. And then on top of that, like, people who think cats are like dirty are completely delusional. If you've ever been around a cat, bro, they clean themselves literally all day. Like, all day they lay around licking themselves and cleaning themselves off, and they fur never be stinking. Like, I've never had a cat that real life stunk. Like, if I picked it up and smelt it, it has never stunk. But dogs, on the other hand, bro, dogs be stinking. Especially the dogs that be having mad hair on their face and their face starts, like, their eyes start running. Them type of dogs be stinking all the time. Like, you gotta wash a dog constantly. You really don't have to wash a cat. Unless you got like an outside cat who be getting dirty or their fur be getting matted. But a house cat, you really do not have to wash them unless you got like bad allergies or something like that. So, delusional, needy, control freak.
Oh, good vibes, guys. I think you should now. It's time to make a kid. A real kid, you see? A human good vibes kid. Anyway, thanks for watching all this way. That is for the guys in that video. Thanks for watching all this way, you their child of God. Leave your thoughts down below of what you think of other good vibe shows like yourself up to this point. Be expectant of more interesting and great stuff coming up. And lots of love to you, good vibe soul.
3 signs your skin picking habit may be compulsive skin picking disorder, also known as dermatillomania. Sign 1, you are emotionally connected to your skin picking. So every time you're feeling stressed or sad or burnt out or tired at the end of the day, whatever your trigger is, you find that you are constantly self-soothing through picking your skin. Because it's a way of self-soothing, you're finding it really difficult to stop, because it's essentially like a child with their favorite toy. And if you would take that toy away from the child would be really upset. It wouldn't have a different toy to look after them the way that Teddy did. So you have that strong emotional connection to the compulsive skin picking. Sign 2 is that you're doing it automatically and subconsciously. You may find that when you're watching TV or maybe even sleeping, that you're skin picking areas of the face or body, wherever it is that you tend to go to, you're realizing that you didn't even notice you were doing it. It could be when you're driving or on the move, when you're talking to someone, even when you're stirring pasta at the hob in the kitchen. You are constantly moving your hand around, grazing areas of the skin on your face and body to skin pick. Sign 3 is when you are unable to move your hands. Say you're in a social situation and you've got to keep still, you're watching something at a seminar or whatever, that you are actively fantasizing about skin picking. You're imagining whatever that release is that brings you joy and satisfaction. You are actively thinking about it in your mind because you are self-soothing in a different way, in a mental way, because you can't do it physically. Dermatillomania, also known as excoriation disorder, affects between 2 to 3% of the world population, and that is just the people that have come forward. So imagine if all that awareness was increased and so many more people knew about what they were going through. I wonder how many actually do have compulsive skin picking disorder. I hope this helps.
In order to stop picking at my skin, I had to stop doing this. This is what I would do every night. I'm sitting in the sink under the worst direct light in the world, an inch away from the mirror, and I would pick the shit out of my face. I would get into these hyper fixated modes where I was just thinking about nothing else in the world, picking at my skin and trying to take control of the situation, which was my breakouts. Me popping my face was me trying to soothe my anxiety by taking control of the situation. So to fix the problem, I knew I had to stop putting myself in those situations. So I actively stopped sitting in the sink at night. I stopped looking at my face this close to the mirror. I don't use harsh lights in my bathroom. All those little things have really helped. I had to tell myself the momentary satisfaction that I'm going to get from popping this pimple is not worth the damage that I'm doing to my skin. Of course, it takes time and practice to build good habits, and I still have my moments. I still get caught up in picking at my skin, but it's okay because skin heals.
5 things that we need to stop telling people who struggle with a skin picking disorder. Number 1, just stop picking your skin. You're not helping. All you're doing is making them feel worse about their skin and their condition. It is not something that we do because we want to. We don't want to damage our skin. It is just a coping mechanism that takes lots of therapy and work to get through. So you're not helping, just don't say it. Number 2, it's just a habit, it'll go away. Again, not helpful. It is a mental disorder, which also means that we're likely going through a lot of other things that we have to work through. And this, like the skin picking, might not be at the top of our priority list. Number 3, just go on Artane. It fixed my skin, it'll fix yours. I've seen so many of these comments, and Artane is great, don't get me wrong. If you have acne, this is not a result of acne. This is a result of me scratching holes into my skin, which you can see all around my face. And it might have started with maybe a little pimple or a bump or like some of the psoriasis that I have up here on my face that I like scratch holes into. But it is not it's not necessarily related to acne. So again, you're not helping that person feel any better. You're probably just making them feel worse. And now they think that there's something even worse wrong with them when they don't even struggle with acne. Number 4, your scars are just a result of poor hygiene. I've seen lots of these comments and it's so untrue. If anything, I wash my face religiously twice a day. I clean it, I put serums on it, I put cream on it just to make sure that my skin is getting the help it needs to heal, considering the damage I'm doing to it. But it is not because of poor hygiene, it is because of how we're physically damaging our skin. Number 5, get laser treatment to get rid of your scars. Yes, that would 100% work. I could go for laser therapy, get rid of my scars in like 2 months, but then they're guaranteed to come back because like dermatillomania or skin picking is a mental disorder, which is something you need to work on through therapy. And it is something that's, it's not easy to just go away. So even if I get rid of my scars, they're going to come back. And so telling us to go get rid of them just makes us feel more conscious of them. And trust me when I say we are well aware that we have scars on our face.
What is body picking and why do people do it?
Body picking, the technical term is body-focused repetitive behaviors. And it really is its own disorder that mainly is skin picking and hair pulling. And those things can become really problematic for people.
So is hair pulling like when you see somebody constantly like twirling their hair and splitting the ends and doing stuff like this? Is that what you mean?
For the compulsive disorder, people can actually like pull it out from
Ouch.
the root, and part of the like pleasure of it is actually that pulling it out from the root.
Oh
so
my
it's not
gosh.
really splitting.
Okay.
So there's that.
Right.
That's compulsive disorder. But a kind of a lower level of that is general body behaviors that can also include nail biting and cuticle biting, biting the inside of your cheek.
Wait, so nail biting and biting or picking at your cuticles or around your fingers is a form of anxiety? Is like a symptom of anxiety?
People with anxiety can do it to relieve tension and be self-soothing. People with ADHD can do it for stimulation because the ADHD brain needs stimulation, and this provides sensory input for the brain. So you could have someone who's, say, studying or watching television, but they can kind of get into this trance state of just kind of pulling, picking, or whatever that's stimulating their brain and keeping it active.
So if you're somebody that struggles with nail biting, what do you recommend somebody do?
So first, there's just the awareness of it, of what it is you're doing, even being aware of any triggers that make you do it or that make it worse. It can be anxiety can make it worse, boredom can make it worse. Then putting other things in place, we call it habit reversal, putting other habits in place to replace these more destructive habits. Someone who picks their nails or bites their cuticles could either put on gloves. Like, let's say you notice that you do this while you're watching television a lot. You could put on gloves while you're watching television. You don't need to walk around for your whole life with gloves, but just during these times. It breaks the cycle, because if you go back to the idea of this being like a semi-automatic thing that you engage in, it helps break that semi-automatic thing so that you have more intentional behaviors.
If you are a chronic skin picker, then you need to listen up, because I used to be a chronic skin picker, have done it probably ever since I was 16, 17, done it through all my relationships, used to go into the bathroom, spend like 30, 40 minutes inspecting my face, picking at every single blemish, pore, clogged pore, whatever I thought I could see. Come out the bathroom, bright red face, didn't want to look at my partner in the face. Done this through multiple relationships, also very embarrassing when you're no longer in the relationship but you live with a housemate. Cannot seem to stop doing it, feel like you need to do it in order to just get that thing out of your face so that it doesn't turn into a spot. If you relate to that, I'm going to give you a few tips that really helped me to stop doing it, and I am fully reformed. I haven't done it in a very long time, and I've actually managed to condition myself to getting anxiety about doing it. AKA, I associate fear with picking, so I don't do it anymore because it's gone the opposite way. First thing, and this is a hard truth, but you need to get it into your head that what you're doing isn't working. A lot of the time it comes with acne or what you feel like is unpredictable skin. And I used to feel like, well, I know that I'm making this spot better. If I just get the gunk out or whatever it is before it turns into a big spot, I'm going to bypass that spot. I'm not going to suffer the consequences of the spot. It's going to stop it before it gets big. How is that working for you? Do you feel like your skin's looking good at the moment? Or for however long you've had this addiction? Because it is an addiction. It's a obsessive behaviour. It's kind of a form of OCD. It's called dermatillomania. You need to look at whether or not that's actually working for you, because let me tell you, the answer is no. So you need to admit it. You need to admit that you have a problem and that the way that you're coping with the problem isn't helping you. And what is that famous saying? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, you're crazy. Something like that. So you need to try something new. You need to accept the fact that this isn't working for you. You need to try something new. That's number one. In at number two, you need to go around your house and make note of all the places that trigger you to pick. For me, it was my reflection in the microwave, looking at my skin, the mirror in my hall, the mirror in my bathroom, reflection in my phone screen, loads of tiny things like that. So get familiar and start to notice, be mindful of those places and those triggers. Over time, if you notice every time you go past them, you'll kind of start to avoid them, and we can debate about whether that's healthy or not, but all I'm saying is it's helped me. In at number three, my favourite tip of all, one of the biggest triggers I think for most people is doing their evening skincare routine, because you know you're going to bed. So you kind of feel like you can get away with picking because you're going to go to bed and in the morning there won't be less red, or at least that's what I thought. Recognise this and change that habit. Break the habit, break the mould.
Oh, interesting. Good vibes, child of God. Thanks for watching up to this far. In that issue that I've just passed about the skin picking, I don't have much to say about it myself, you see. But what I can say, good vibe soul. Even you just being there, watching, being good, no issue, that gesture alone is enough to be thankful to tell God thank you. Because, my friend, out there and out here in the world, people suffer with different conditions and challenges, you see. And if we all be full of love and good vibes, we can help the whole community to love itself, you see, by loving your neighbor the way you love yourself. Just keep on watching, my friends, and leave your comments. Good vibes.
Doesn't it seem odd that in Genesis chapter 3, when the serpent started to talk to Eve, she didn't seem surprised? I mean, if your dog came to you and started speaking to you in your language, wouldn't you be kind of shocked? I'm quite sure that if the animals weren't talking before, and the serpent came up to Eve and started talking just out of the blue, she would have been alarmed, like, what's really going on? Why are you talking to me? But she didn't. She just continued to have a conversation with the serpent like this was just normal. So they got me to thinking. I was like, But the Bible is kind of vague on this, which is vague on a lot of things. It's a lot of gaps, which causes a lot of people to say, that's kind of outlandish. I don't believe that the serpent talked to her. If the serpent was talking to her, maybe the Bible would have mentioned that the serpent had the ability to talk. But there's a book called the Book of Jubilees in the Ethiopian Bible. Verse 3 and 29 says, on that day, the day that Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, The ability to speak was taken from all the beasts, cattle, birds, and everything that walks or moves, so they could no longer communicate. For they had all spoken with one voice and one language. Verse 30, God expelled all flesh from the Garden of Eden, scattering it by kinds and types to the place created for them. Now, why the Bible don't tell us this? No, better yet, who's hiding this from us? Somebody hid this because they didn't want us to know. I'm convinced that some of the things that were excluded from the Bible was to keep us from having the entire picture, so that we can have a better understanding as to why things happen and what's going on, instead of allowing the enemy to say, that's impossible. There's no way an animal could talk. But you read it in the book of Jubilees, the animals had the ability to communicate with the humans. But after the fall, they no longer have this ability to communicate. You ever wonder why people talk to their dogs and talk to their pets, and it seems like they understand, and you say, wow, that's awesome, that dog's pretty smart. Well, that dog probably remembering some of the things that it used to have. It used to have the ability to communicate with us, but now it doesn't. I know there's going to be somebody who's going to say, he's going outside of the canonical books. It doesn't make sense. Well, if it doesn't make sense, why was the snake talking? I mean, you have to think. There had to be a reason why the snake was communicating with her, and she wasn't surprised. It wasn't because Satan had possessed the snake, because if that was the fact, she would have been alarmed, and she would have been like, hey, why are you talking to me? And she probably wouldn't have listened to anything he said. But it's obvious that they had been communicating when Adam wasn't around. So she probably trusted the snake. Comment down below and let me tell me what you think about this.
Y'all, I just saw a post that said, when someone is in love with you, their biggest fear is not losing you. Their biggest fear is hurting you. But when they are in love with how you make them feel, then their biggest fear is losing you. And I think that just changed my brain chemistry, because that explains so much.
So I want to tell you about this part of the brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. It's found in the area of the brain that is responsible for planning, decision-making, problem-solving. So this part of the brain only develops when you do uncomfortable things, when you do difficult things. So the way it works is like a muscle. It only gets activated when you use it. Now, you can only activate it by doing things you don't feel like doing, by doing things that are difficult, that are not fun. So, for example, waking up early, going to class, studying. But the good thing is, just like a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So, when they say time heals, practice makes perfect, it doesn't actually mean that what you're doing or what you're going through is easier. It just means that you become stronger.
When we talk about East Asian countries, there's a really interesting reason why men in China care so little about appearances compared to men in South Korea. In fact, some people will even argue that men from South Korea care a little bit too much about their appearance, from wearing makeup, doing their hair, and even wearing the latest accessories. And much of this simply has to do with culture, since in South Korea, you have to present yourself well as a man as well as a woman. However, in China, there's no such pressure for Chinese men. Instead, in a country like China, the biggest pressure is to earn as much money as possible. This means that Chinese men often eat more as well as care less about their appearances compared to their female counterparts. Growing up in a community with a lot of South Koreans as well as Chinese, one of the best ways that I can tell them apart was simply the way that they dress. And many students from China will often have mixed match outfits as well as hair that looks like they just woke up. And you have to keep in mind that there's simply different societal expectations, especially for South Korean men. Just like the United States, there's even a gym culture in South Korea simply due to their proximity to many Americans, especially because of the military bases. And keep in mind that caring too much about your looks in China can be viewed as feminine in the culture. Instead, in China, men are simply valued by their net worth.
I spent 5 years in federal prison for real estate fraud, and my husband waited for me, and he was faithful to me. And I know that he was faithful because I know that my husband would never disrespect himself by being unfaithful. I married Chad 28 years ago. I was a single mother with 2 children, and he adopted my children and raised them as his own. We had 3 more children together, and then I got involved in some illegal real estate deals. And I remember as we went through that talking to an attorney who said, "This is going to destroy your marriage. There's no way it will survive." Chad was angry and hurt, and it was a really difficult thing for us to go through, but he told me that he made a decision that he would stand by me no matter what. That's honor. That's a hero. The day that we walked into a federal courthouse and I was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison, Chad stood at the podium and pled with the judge to have compassion and give me time to say goodbye to my children. The judge gave me 8 weeks, and then Chad drove me 14 hours, and I walked into a federal prison, and then he drove home alone. I remember not long after I got to prison, I talked to Chad on the phone, and I said, "You should leave me, you should go. You shouldn't have to stand by me through this." And he said, "No, Portia. How would I ever find anyone I love the way I love you? You're the best." He wrote me a letter and said, "Portia, the BOP doesn't deserve you. You belong to us. We miss you so much." 5 years later, Chad was waiting for me when I walked out of the federal prison with flowers. I've been home 5 years now, and we really love each other. I'm going to share a picture at the end of this video of us when we were engaged and not long after I got out of prison. Chad believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, and that makes him a hero.